Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
George sent me a story from Detroit that caught his eye and caught mine as well. And it's a goofy story, but it's the kind of thing that if it happened to you wouldn't be so funny, but it's bizarre, but it ties in with things we've talked about before, including identity theft. And this is from Fox 2 News in Detroit. I believe it's WJBK. And again, George sent it. Woman gets DTE bills for $22,000 for apartment she never lived at. Or for those of you who want to correct this, you'd say, woman gets DTE bills for $22,000 for apartment at which she never lived. DTE, of course, is our energy provider, electricity. They are also a sponsor of formerly known Pine Knob, the outdoor music theater I talk about from time to time. They call it the DTE Music Theater. I refuse to call it that. I call it Pine Knob, as has always been the case. But a woman named Kiana Green was upset after she started receiving enormous, erroneous bills from DTE Energy. Egregious, erroneous, enormous. It started after she moved into the Barwin Place Apartments in Mount Clemens back in August. And by the way, for those of you who are not from Michigan, wouldn't know, but Mount Clemens is a town on a very, very flat piece of land. No one knows why it's called Mount Clemens. As far as I can tell, there is no mountain there. It's never erupted. So she started getting these bills, though, and she could not turn on the utilities in her own name because they said you got to pay off this $22,000 balance to get your utilities turned on. She said, I was trying to show them that all of this stuff was not me. I said, where did that bill come from? Like, period. Where did the bill come from? I'm animating that because the words sound better that way. The big bill was from a building at the Anthos Garden Apartments complex on East Outer Drive on Detroit's east side. And these areas are not near each other. Okay, it's not like, it's one block over or something. Green says she has not lived in Detroit for more than a decade, and neither has anyone in her family. And she says she certainly has no connection whatsoever to that apartment complex where somebody using her name apparently ran up a bill of $22,000. I always thought they'd shut the power off long before you ran up $22,000 in bills, but I could be wrong. Green went back and forth with DTE for months trying to resolve this issue. And while she's trying to resolve the issue, she kept getting shut-off notices for the apartment building at which she did not live. And the balance kept going up, and it went up to $28,892. $28,892. So she said, why are you all continuously sending me this bill? I don't understand. Fox 2 reached out to DTE with the same question. They did some digging, and they then canceled the $28,000 bill as to her. Presumably, whoever ran it up may have to pay it back, but they said, okay, we're going to say that Ms. Green no longer owes this money. A spokesperson for DTE said it appears that she may have been the victim of identity theft. Somebody got a hold of her name, some other identifying information, submitted it to the power company, got the power turned on, and then never paid the bill until it hit $28,000. This is what Green had been saying all along, but as you know, if you start arguing with the utility or the government or there's different entities out there, you'll never make any headway. And so luckily, she got Fox 2 involved. And I got a good buddy who works for him, Charlie. I don't know if Charlie got involved or not, but he's on camera, but he's an attorney. Good guy, Charlie. DTE released a statement which said in part, we have been in communication with the apartment complex whose account was being billed to Ms. Green, and arrangements are being made for payment. We are still collecting information on this case to determine the cause of the billing to Ms. Green. And at this point, no law enforcement agencies have been involved. And, here's the weird part, is that somebody moves into an apartment and says, I am Ms. Green, and somehow convinces the power company that that's the case. This person starts using power, starts getting bills and not paying the bills. Now, the power company should very quickly say, well, you're not paying the bills, we're going to shut you off. But for whatever reason, they start sending the bills after they've accumulated to the real Ms. Green, who's someplace else. Now, that should have been their first clue that something is wrong. Because if she's living in an apartment over here How is she running up $28,000 of power bills over here? Now, I understand there's possibilities. You say, Steve, that's possible. Suppose these people are related. Suppose that this is the mother, this is a daughter, and the mother is paying the. Who knows? There are potential legitimate reasons that could happen. But you'd think that when the power bill hit, I don't know, $20,000, maybe $10,000, that they go, I wonder if there's a problem here, that this person's not paying their bill, and we've let it get to $28,000. Maybe we should investigate. And the fact that they say that they're owed $28,000 by a person here, but they recognize that the actual person's over here, and this person's saying, that's not me, that somebody would step in and go, okay, this doesn't make sense. This is not happening so often that that's, when you're talking to somebody, they say, I got really upset. And I insisted on speaking to a manager. Now, there are situations where you insist on speaking to a manager and they just hand you to the next person, the next cubicle. And they pretend to be the manager. And then, of course, they shuffle their calls over to this person. But the idea that something does get elevated to a manager, and the manager is the one who's supposed to go, okay, I can go off the script here. I'm not required to go off the decision tree and say, person says this, tell them this, says this, tell them this. And when an electric bill for an apartment hits $28,000 and somebody says, it's not me, I don't even live there, and you know that because you're sending me bills at a different location, that a manager would step in and go, okay, there is a problem here. What's going on here? Now, it's possible, and you could say, Steve, they obviously did that. That's why this is in the news now, because this got resolved. But it looks like it took the people from the TV station to get involved, to go, why don't you guys look at this and ask yourselves, this doesn't make any sense, So the story is seemingly far from over. In the meantime, Green is relieved to have gotten some answers. She said, I'm so glad. I'm just like, this is a barrier that I don't have to worry about anymore. I'm really happy about that. But again, for a brief period of time, Kiana Green could not get the electric bill at her actual apartment put out in her name because the power company said, oh, but you currently owe us $28,000 from the other place that you don't live at. So it's comical, but it's not funny, if that makes sense. And you can imagine what a nightmare this was for her. Now, I'm hoping that she got the power turned on some other way. I'm hoping she wasn't living in a dark apartment all this time. But you never know. So this just is the kind of thing that happens these days, She has a common last name, but a fairly uncommon first name because she spells Kiana with a Q. But again, someone must have probably just picked that information up someplace, used it to get the energy input in their name, DTE. And again, I have to ask the question. You are the utility that provides this service. At what point do you stop and scratch your head and go, maybe there's something wrong here? I've never seen a $5,000 power bill. Never seen a $10,000, $28,000 for an apartment. So it's one of the problems that you have when you have utilities that get really, really large and, they're making money, printing money, basically. The question is how responsive they become to customer complaints. So again, George, thanks for passing that along. Thanks to Fox 2. I hope my friend Charlie Langton's doing well over there. Otherwise, questions, comments, put them below. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the universe.